Today, I'm pleased to have with us Mr. Thierry Bouffioux, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of DistributionAdvice, Mr. Tim Peters, Principal at AT Kearney, Mr. Moheb Ramsis, Senior Director of Business Development at Qualcomm, and Mr. Jean-Luc, Head of Revenue Growth Service Line from Ericsson Middle East. So we have actually two global vendors who are on the forefront of Internet of Things. We have an excellent consultant and another excellent consultant. So I'm sure it's going to be a lively discussion. Thierry, I'll start with you. The Internet of Things, is it a buzzword or is it actually a real potential that operators can leverage to increase the potential market, increase the economy sizes, and also invest in entrepreneurs and startups based on a new ecosystem of the Internet of Things?
Yes, that's a very broad question. I think it's a great opportunity because we were talking like the last 2 days in the conference about the issues, the problem, the missed opportunity or the cost even for the first session about our network. But the Internet of Things is actually providing us an opportunity to leverage the network. But it means also that we need to facilitate the introduction of young people and startup within telco. So I'm a very fond, and you know that, I'm a very fond of organizing Incubator and Accelerator for all big telcos in the world. So we started with Telefonica and Wayra, and you can see that there is some value behind, telcos helping young companies to grow and to develop some products leveraging the network. So it's not only about, the value produced by, the new value or the value defined by the new startups, but it's also about additional business created for the telco. So for a telco, creating such an incubator or an accelerator, it has an impact first on the brand, 2 on the employee, 3 on the product. You can define, and we have like colleagues here who can explain better than me, but you can define new products, changing the way the people look at telco, and consume telco. And it can go from smart home, smart city to the new health system, helping people, with any type of chronic disease. So there is a huge opportunity in the Internet of Things, and it will come not only about the sensor and the technology, but also about the partnership that the telco companies need to do with all these, let's say, new coming companies.
Tim, your thoughts? Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jawad, first of all, for inviting. And also, I think, let me make a bold statement here to begin with. I think that this topic will be in a couple of years' time, it will be probably subject of your main panel on the first day. So today, at least you squeezed it in. But I think in a couple of years' time, it will be the #1 topic. What is it about? I mean, it's basically the next big wave. So let me just throw some numbers at you as well. Everyone talks about it. So basically, there's 1.3 tweets per minute on the topic of Internet of Things.
And for the benefit of everybody, some of them are very technologically oriented, but some of them are from verticals that are not related directly to telecom, from the media or adjacent. How do you define the Internet of Things?
Yeah, thanks very much. I mean, it's always about defining the playground a little bit, right? There's 3 things that would, I think, define Internet of Things. First of all, it's embedded intelligence. So it's sensors, it's devices that are attached to something. So it's embedded intelligence, it's ubiquitous connectivity at all times, and it's also about deep analytical insights. So whether it's smart metering or a health product. So I think these 3 things kind of describe it. And it will be pervasive. The question is, are you ready for it? And this is also where I think in this region, I'm sensing, I've been here at this conference for a few years, I'm sensing a lot more positivity than there used to be, actually. So I think there is a slow shift in mindset. There is still a lot of kind of victim talk, and we heard some of that yesterday. But increasingly, I think there's a bit of a more positive aspect here. Yesterday, we heard from Yusuf that there could be a tripling of the telecom sector here in Jordan. I think the Internet of Things is actually one such wave, which is at its very beginning. If you get a few critical aspects and factors, and I'll speak about those later as we discuss, if you get these right here, then the Arab world and the operators here in this region and the ICT sector in this region can really thrive on that wave. So it will be pervasive. What does that mean? While maybe today you have less than half sensors, devices, Internet of Things than you have actual mobiles, very soon by 2020 you will have double the devices and sensors and things connected than you have people connected. So that means toward 2030 we're expected to run toward 30 billion devices and things connected. So it's definitely a big figure. Another figure I would like to throw at you before I close the numbers is it's expected to take 6% of global gross domestic product. So 6% of GDP will be influenced by the Internet of Things. And we're talking by 2020, $100 trillion GDP. So $6 trillion of that will be influenced by the Internet of Things. And part of what Thierry mentioned, so some of it will be additional revenues, value add from companies that deliver new solutions. Part of it will be taking revenues, actually a large share, more than 50% will be taking revenues from traditional or other businesses, healthcare, and will take them to the internet. And other parts will be productivity improvement, cost savings. And between the segments that are using it, the enterprise segment will be the majority, will take the majority of this. That's what's expected. The consumer will take about 1/3, and then governments will take another big portion of that.
Thank you very much.
One more comment. I think even more important for me is that it will improve our life.
Sorry?
It will improve our life.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because we always talking about technicalities and so forth, but at the end of the day, you know, maybe our kids will live forever. They will not have like a day where they die. They will live forever. But based on that, you know, the telecom infrastructure could really ease the way we live in terms of education, in terms of health, and in terms of whatever, transportation tomorrow. So it's not only about, you know, the revenue, but I agree about the analysis, but it's also about, you know, changing the way people see the telco, and not only anymore as a communication means, but also something which is helping you to go through your life.
Perfect. Jean-Luc, you work for Ericsson, and you're very close with many operators across the world. So from your perspective, what's the role of operators in advancing the adoption of Internet of Things, and how would that help them and also help the vendors like yourself?
Yeah. Basically, one of the things maybe I would like to make a difference on already is what is happening in machine-to-machine and the Internet of Things. I think we had a definition already, so I'm not going to expand on that. But basically, when we look at machine-to-machine today, there's a lot of growth in that area related to the needs of the enterprises, related to the needs of the industry. We see, you know, regulation, you know, driving that growth as well. We see a lot of things happening in the automotive industry with regulation forcing embedment of modules in the cars. We see utility industry also, you know, going into machine-to-machine, you know, requirements. So there's a big growth. On average, I think roughly 30% per year is expected on machine-to-machine. But I think there's also, with the Internet of Things, there's maybe not one Internet of Things, and there's many Internet of Things. There's, you know, you see more and more, you know, open source platforms available, like Arduino, Raspberry. You see cloud platforms that can be used to create innovation. So I think there's part of the Internet of Things that will be driven through the operators, through you know, machine-to-machine platforms, and then there's also going to be an over-top, you know, Internet of Things market. The other thing is that when it comes to the role of the operator, I mean, the majority of the operators today, they are providing basic data plans and basic data services. So for the operator, the first thing is really to start addressing the needs of the industry by providing differentiation in the pricing, the billing, the service level agreements, and then progressively also move up the value chain. And you know, this is then where we start seeing also the insights, the analytics, and the other you know, enablement helping you know, operators. Today, just to give another number, roughly, if you look at the you know, addressable market, the connectivity part that goes to the operator today is about 5% of the value of the M2M service, so between 5 and 8%. And that is really that part that needs to be optimized, and also that's the part you need to, you know, that share you need to increase.
Thank you very much. Moheb, what are your thoughts from the perspective of Qualcomm and your good self as well?
Well, thank you for Jawad for inviting me back to one of my favorite cities, Amman. Well, basically, Qualcomm is, as you probably know, it's we develop wireless technologies and processors, chipsets. So, Internet of Things for us is key to the market development, and we think that as I think that was the most important comment. Really, it's going to improve people's life. Internet of Things is basically the way we look at it is connecting everything in a way to improve how things are done. So that can apply to many verticals, including, I would say, the most famous ones: education, health, smart cities, smart homes. And looking at that, I think they will probably, if not certainly, be more connected devices than human beings in not so long from now. And for us as a company that develop wireless technology, that has an impact on two things. The first one is basically connectivity. So again, it has to be ubiquitous. A human being or a device will have to be connected all the time, not and everywhere, regardless of where it is. And that implies to have those location-aware applications and all of that stuff that support building that. From a connectivity standpoint, there is no one single technology that can support providing all of the data requirements, let's say, for Internet of Things. If we look at how we look at it today, we call it the 1000x. So the data consumption is going to be multiplied by 1,000, not 2, not 3, 1,000 in a couple of years from now. And it's really increasing in a huge way. You have just to look at YouTube consumption in Saudi Arabia, for example, if we talk about this region. So what we try to do to support that is really to implement and integrate all of the technologies into our chipsets, into one, what we call system on a chip or SoC, so that with one device you can have access to all of that, whether be it 3G, 4G, LTE, Wi-Fi. So Qualcomm has acquired a few years back Atheros, which is now Qualcomm Atheros, providing Wi-Fi connectivity. So it's really complementing or a complementary portfolio of technologies that has to be integrated together to be able to support the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Everything, as we like to call it.
Yeah, this is actually, I've noticed that different vendors call it differently. So what are the names now outside in the world now for the Internet of Things? Is it the Internet of Everything, the Internet of Things, and what else?
We like the Internet of Everything.
Okay, yeah, and then Cisco has another name for it. It's Internet of the Internets or something. Something like that. But it's essentially the same. But each operator, each vendor would like its own tag on it.
Exactly.
I guess.
Yes. Yes.
So your preferred choice is the Internet of Everything.
Internet of Everything. Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
And on the other side, I mean, what was really very important for our business as Qualcomm and how to support this revolution, I would say, or I'm Egyptian, so let's not talk about revolution. Talk about something else. We call it evolution, if that makes it easier. Is really to have the right devices or the right chipsets to support all the devices. And that's not really because recently we've been always talking about smartphone capabilities, how to enhance and enhance and enhance, but Internet of Everything or Internet of Things requires something different, require to have a portfolio of, let's say, modems, processors that are done properly to provide the connectivity and the processing at the right price target. So having different processors, different modems for connectivity, sometimes you need to simplify rather than really enhance the capabilities. So we made sure that we have all this in our processors.
We have a voting question, and I would like to play it differently this time. Could we put the voting question on, please? Oh. Can't see from the flowers now. Who is best suited to best leverage wearable technology in the Arab world in the coming 10 years? Telecom operators, broadcasters, health services industry, educational institutions, banking and financial services industry, and transportation sector. Before we vote, we don't want to vote now. I'd like the panelists, because wearable technology is part and parcel of the Internet of Things. I would like you, no, keep the question on. Wait for my instructions, Ya Omar. Okay, don't start the vote and keep the questions on. That's what you get when you hire smart people in the company. They overvote your opinion. Okay, what I would like you to do is basically, I'd like your input on what you think is the highest potential, and to see which of you, or whether all of you, can convince the audience that this is the right thing. So we'll start with Moheb and move to the right. Sorry, if I start with Jean-Luc and move alphabetical, if you like. Depends.
All right. Personally, I think that in terms of potential, and now here the question is about wearables, right? So I think probably the health services industry is what I would rank the highest, especially when you see what's already going on in the industry, especially around fitness gear. There's also more and more, I would say, healthcare devices you can already find to couple with your devices. So for me, I'd vote for C.
And it's because it's already happening and it has an immediate application, you think, right?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, Jawad, in addition to answering this question, I would like to elaborate a little bit around this, because you're showing here already 6 different areas, and you're showing how wide the industry is, and it goes even beyond that, because they will depend on their partners, the platform partners, the Qualcomms, the Ericssons, others in this world. So to me, the timing is actually predicted by experts, and we did a survey in Silicon Valley just recently with experts. They're expecting a peak growth by 2020 of the Internet of Things, or everything, and in a couple of years' time, it will rank up very quickly. Now, how do you influence that? There's 2 aspects. There's the macro, the ecosystem, the macro environment, and how well sort of countries and governments and the players are ready to play together on that. And there's the micro environment, so the individual companies, the startup companies, and these companies, and how well they act. In terms, let's look at it from a regional perspective, and the Jordanian, and from what I perceived yesterday. I think your big challenge in this region here will really be the macro aspects, getting those right. And I think Luigi Gambaroni from Etno yesterday in your first panel, he summarized it very well. A way to address that is by cooperating better, regulators, all these players here, cooperating better, planning, and sitting down and having a digital agenda how to address that.
Outside of Jordan, what do you think for the whole region?
I think for the region here, because the region has an opportunity to be at the forefront of something, yet again, are they going to be able to be as fast as the rest of the world, or maybe even faster? And some of those success factors are, so policies and regulations, standardized platforms, and interfaces, cross-industry collaboration, and then driving down costs, for example. These are the macro aspects. I think on the micro side, from what I heard this morning and yesterday, there's a lot of innovation already happening there's readiness to invest, there's readiness to invest in more risky business case models. There's definitely co-creation, collaboration. So there's a little bit of what it takes on the company level already to succeed. But the macro one, I think, is the big one. So that I just wanted to say. Now, in terms of the wearable devices, I guess you mean the Google glasses and the clothes and the likes and the paces and the. Okay, I know for a fact that here in Jordan today you have the operators only have one M2M type of solution on the market, and that is transportation services. Yes. So the truck businesses, Zain and Umniya, offer an application, and that's a good start, right? And it's picking up, and it's making revenues today for the operators, albeit probably a small chunk. So transportation sector has a lead here in Jordan. Health, I agree that health services have a very logical advantage here, but I would like to hope that the telecom operators are going to be at the forefront, because they are just an essential part of the whole value chain.
What about a city like Dubai, for example, or Abu Dhabi? Because the question
That's a very good question, because I know for a fact that investments are high in healthcare in that region, for sure. Education as well in the UAE. So these two are being, funded, and naturally a lot of money goes in. So maybe they will be the winning ones. So I hope it's education. I think it might be health. Yeah.
Jean-Luc, you had a point?
Yeah, can I briefly comment on UAE? I think one of the interesting things, if you look at UAE in particular, and that goes back to what Tim said about policies, regulations, cooperation. UAE is, for me, is a typical case today of lack of stakeholder alignment, because there's a Ministry of Health which has an agenda to take care of non-communicable diseases, so basically diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, very high on the agenda. But at the same time, all the hospitals, all the doctors, they really today work as profit centers. So they're not really incentivized to provide solutions to reduce the cost. And at the other end, you have the insurance companies who are actually paying for all these medical services. So it's really important that you get an alignment between all these stakeholders to actually succeed with the healthcare services.
Very good. Moheb?
Well, I tend to agree actually with what was said in terms of health being, as of today, as of the way we see wearables today, health is going to probably be the best industry to leverage that, and followed by transportation as well. And I think the challenge here is mainly on the regulation side, because now if you look at the way it used to be, that you had a regulator who is managing the telecom side of the story, but now this regulator has to interact with different regulatory bodies, like the health ministries, like the transportation sector, like the education one. And we are actually working on several programs to support these verticals, and this is a challenge that we see today. Sometimes it becomes really a barrier whenever you think about what something or what a device can do in terms of health, for example, that can really save people's lives. You'll find yourself in front of a closed door because of regulations, because it has to go through a very long process and sometimes people are not ready to discuss it.